It was a cool evening at Camp Superhero. The sun had set and the stars were coming out. Jake was excited because tonight was his chance to be part of the camp's biggest tradition, making super s'mores over an open fire. With a swirl of his mighty hands, Chef Blaze brought a roaring fire to life before their very eyes. "Who's ready to harness their superpowers to make the ultimate s'more?" he boomed. Jake, Murph, and Frankie bounced on their feet, bursting with excitement. They wanted to show their powers could make something awesome. "Let's make the best s'more ever," Jake said, puffing his chest. Murph looked determined. "With your storm powers, Frankie's speed, and my command of the waves, we can't be beat." Frankie looked confident. "Oh yeah, let's go Team Speed Storm C!" Chef Blaze handed out the ingredients and it was time to begin. "First things first," said Jake, "we're going to need sticks." "Take your pick," said Frankie, having collected an armful of sticks in the blink of an eye. Murph selected a long one and skewered a fluffy marshmallow. Cooking the perfect marshmallow is like fishing. You just need to take it slow and be patient. "Hard disagree," said Frankie. "Faster is always better. Put it right in the flames." "If I do that, it could burn and then it will taste terrible," said Murph. "Trust me on this, Murph. You know water, but I know heat," said Frankie with a confident smirk. Unsure, Murph moved the marshmallow closer to the middle of the flames. To everyone's horror, it started to darken too quickly. "It's burning," said Murph in panic. "I can fix it," said Jake, swirling his hands to summon a light wind as he tried to cool the marshmallow. But the wind only made the fire burn hotter. The marshmallow was getting more charred by the second. "Leave it to me," said Murph, summoning a splash of lake water to extinguish the flaming candy. 10 seconds left until judging," said Chef Blaze. 10 seconds? Exclaimed Frankie. "Quick, give it here!" Using his lightning speed, Frankie hurriedly assembled their charred s'more and presented it to Chef Blaze just in time. Said Chef Blaze with an appraising eye. "Burnt marshmallow, soggy lake water-infused crackers. And what is that on top?" Chocolate?" shrugged Frankie with a hopeful smile. Chef Blaze sniffed it cautiously. "If you say so." Jake, Murph, and Frankie looked disappointed. "So much for Team Speed Storm C," said Jake. Chef Blaze looked at them and thought for a moment. "Do you know what makes a s'more so delicious?" Murph looked confused. The ingredients?" "Well, yes," said Chef Blaze with a chuckle. "But it's how they all work together to make something more than the sum of their parts. It's just a little bit of chocolate, a firm cracker, and a simple marshmallow. But you add a bit of heat, and then you have something special," he said, looking at the three of them. "Why don't you all give it a second try, and this time try working together," Chef Blaze said with a wink. The team huddled together, this time with a new plan. "Okay," said Jake. "Murph keeps the fire calm with mist from the lake." "I'll spin the marshmallow just right," said Frankie, "fast but not too fast." They nodded. Operation Perfect S'more was a go. Frankie held the stick while Murph gently calmed the fire with a fine mist of water. Jake used the softest gust of wind to swirl the heat evenly. The marshmallow puffed into a golden cloud. They took it out and laid it on the chocolate, which softened just right. And this time, thankfully, the crackers stayed dry. "We did it," whispered Murph. "It's beautiful," said Jake. "It's sticky," said Frankie, pulling melted marshmallow from his cape. They handed the s'more to Chef Blaze, who took a slow, thoughtful bite. "Now that," he said, "is a super s'more." "Looks like Team Speed Storm C just found the secret ingredient," said Murph. And as the stars twinkled over Camp Superhero, the trio sat by the fire, laughing, sticky, and proud. Turns out the best powers at camp were the ones they used together.
It was Red and Nash's first day visiting their gram in the big city of Chicago.
You want us to ride that?
Well, how else are we going to get around? The train will take us right to Millennium Park.
Red and Nash weren't sure. They had nothing that fast back home. Of course, Red would never admit she was scared.
The train? That old thing? Surely there's a more fun way we could get to the park.
Well, I've got good news. We're not taking the train. We're going to be riding on Elle the Caterpillar.
What? A caterpillar? But this is a train station, Graham.
I'm using my imagination to pretend. Do you want to imagine with me? It might make riding the train a little less scary.
Well, I guess I could give it a try.
How about you, Red? Will you imagine with us?
I don't need to imagine because I'm not scared. Count me out.
Well, suit yourself. Look, Nash, here comes Elle. Right on time.
Red and Nash saw the train approaching, but through the power of imagination, it transformed and became a huge friendly caterpillar.
Nash turned to Elle the caterpillar and gave her a pat on the head.
Will you give us a ride to Millennium Park?
I think Ella seems hungry. We need to give her something to eat. We can pretend our tickets are caterpillar food.
Munch, munch, munch. I think Elle likes the yummy food. Are you sure you don't want to play pretend with us, Red?
No, thank you, Graham. I don't need to because I'm not afraid.
Elle the caterpillar took Red, Graham, and Nash all over town.
Look, Graham, the tall buildings are like grass, and the tiny people are like ants.
Great job using your imagination, Nash.
When Nash, Red, and Graham got to their stop, they waved goodbye to Elle.
Thanks for giving us a ride, Elle. Have a good day.
They left the train station and walked out onto a very busy street.
Whoa, there are so many people and loud noises. I think I'm a little nervous. Are you nervous too, Red?
No, I'm not. I'm never nervous because I'm a big kid.
All right, well, why don't we use our imagination again?
Let's imagine this crosswalk is a giant piano.
We can play the keys as we cross the street.
So Nash and Graham played silly songs as they crossed the street on their giant piano. The music filled the streets, and people started dancing along. Even Elle the giant caterpillar joined in. Nash and Graham giggled. Their song had made the whole city dance around.
Imagination makes everything a lot less scary.
Red crossed her arms. She didn't need imagination because she was never scared.
Thanks for the music, Nash. But the fun doesn't stop there. We've finally reached the park.
Nash was excited. The park was a new place to use his imagination. At the park, Graham and Nash decided to pretend to be cowboys out in the Wild West, imagining some very unique horses. They galloped around the park shouting, "Yee-haw!"
My horse's name is Windy, and he loves eating carrots. Do you want to feed him one, Red?
But Red wasn't using her imagination because she was a big kid, and big kids don't get scared. Right? If she was being honest, Red wasn't so sure. There were so many new faces and places all in one day.
Graham, I have something I need to say. I think I am nervous to be in Chicago for the first time. There are so many new people and places. And I miss my mommy and daddy. I didn't want to say anything because I wanted to be a big kid, and big kids don't get scared.
Thank you for telling me how you feel, Red. You are very brave. Big kids do get scared all the time. The important thing is to talk to someone about how you are feeling.
What should I do now? I don't want to be scared anymore.
Well, sometimes it helps to use your imagination. What do you say?
I'll do it! But I think we need a name for when we play pretend. How about a Red and Nash imagination splash?
Red, Nash, and Graham spent the day going on imagination adventures, and they were having so much fun that Red and Nash couldn't wait to come back next weekend.
Walking through Graham's kitchen, Red took a delicious bite out of a bright, juicy apple. It's so sweet. Graham grabbed another apple from her fruit basket and offered it to Nash. How about you, Nash? Said Graham enticingly. There's nothing quite like crunching into a fresh farmer's market apple. Nash shook his head warily. Crunching? How about we juice it instead? Sipping sounds like a more fun way to eat, but Red knew what was up. He has a really wiggly tooth. A wiggly tooth? Graham said with excitement. Let's see. Nash slowly opened up his mouth. He took his hand and moved the tooth around a whole lot. Oh wow, that is very wiggly, said Graham. With a flash of fear, Nash quickly closed his mouth. That tooth is ready to come out, Graham exclaimed. Not yet, I'm scared, Nash shouted, putting his hand over his mouth. Well, maybe a very fancy dentist could come over, Graham said, looking at Red. Just to see what could be done. Red gasped. Time for a Red and Nash imagination splash. With that, Dentist Red approached Nash holding a flashlight. Patient Nash, I'll need to take a look at that tooth, Red said, flashing the light into his mouth. How bad is it? Nash asked, a scared look on his face. It's definitely ready to come out. Luckily, I have just the tools, Dentist Red said, approaching with a pair of tongs. Wait, can't you pull it with something else? Nash asked, seeing how much bigger those tongs were compared to his tiny tooth. I think I have just the thing, Red responded. Moments later, Red returned with a piece of string that had one side tied around a remote control car. It's a drive-away tooth remover! Red shouted. Is that what real dentists use? Nash asked, his eyes wide in fear. Red shrugged. If they don't, they should. There's got to be another way, Nash cried. Red thought for a moment. We could go back to the apple? Nash shook his head no. Tooth Fairy Graham! Flying in! Graham excitedly. You know, Nash, we could really use that tooth in fairyland. Well, I do want to help the fairies and the dentist, but how? How do I get it out? Nash asked. Well, let me listen to what it says. Graham leaned her ear into Nash's mouth, listening to the tooth and nodding. It says it's ready to be pulled by you. Me? By myself? Nash shrunk into the chair. Yes, Dentist Red, don't you agree? Graham turned to Red. Red's eyes lit up. Yeah, Nash, pull it. Tooth Fairy Graham knows all. Graham laughed. I wouldn't say I know all, but this I do know. Let's fly to the bathroom. Nash stood in front of the bathroom mirror. He wasn't sure he could do this. Tooth Fairy Graham, can you put a spell on me? So that it doesn't hurt? Graham asked, confused. No, to make me a fairy dentist, the strongest of all the teeth pullers, said Nash, finding his courage. Tooth Fairy Graham waved her invisible magic fairy wand and granted Nash's wish. Then Nash closed his eyes, reached in, and pulled out his tooth. He opened his eyes. It didn't hurt, he exclaimed with thrilled surprise. Graham smiled. Can I let you in on a secret? I didn't put a spell on you at all. The bravery you just showed, it was inside you the whole time. Nash looked from Graham to his tooth to the mirror. I did it, and now I can give it to you. Graham shook her head. One of my colleagues will be back tonight to take it from under your pillow. With that, Tooth Fairy Graham flew away. Nash turned to Red. What's a colleague? She means another fairy, Red said, giggling. Also, you're cured. Red clapped her hands together. I'm the best dentist ever. Nash stared at his freed tooth. Can't wait to see what the Tooth Fairy leaves me. Me too. Should we try to pull one of mine next? Red asked. No, Graham shouted as she peeked her head in. Only pull them when they're super duper wiggly, like this. Graham started tickling both of them as they laughed and wiggled, trying to escape. Red and Nash had decided to play road trip that morning at Graham's. Red decided she would be the driver, of course. You're always the driver. When is it my turn? Nash cried, annoyed with his sister. Graham interrupted their argument. Your turn will have to wait, my dear. Our resident's shower head is broken and we have to go fix it, Graham declared. Can I be in charge of fixing it? Nash asked, jumping up. I love that enthusiasm. Keep it up, Graham said, leading them all out. When they arrived at the apartment, Graham threw open the bathroom door. There she blows, Graham proclaimed, pointing out the leaky shower head. What does there she blows mean? Nash asked. It's what they say on pirate ships, Graham said with a wink. Red and Nash gasped with excitement. Red and Nash imagination splash! Captain Red hopped into the tub and held the shower dial like it was the wheel of a pirate ship. Buccaneer Nash grabbed a round shampoo bottle and pretended it was a long pirate looking glass. Looks like there's a storm ahead, Nash shouted. I'll steady the mast, Admiral Graham declared, grabbing the shower head. What's a mast? Buccaneer Nash shouted over the loud wind. It's the pole that holds the sails, and it's too loose, Graham exclaimed as she fiddled with the shower head. Push it back in, Buccaneer Nash shouted. No, it needs to be replaced, Captain Red yelled over him. Why do we have to always listen to you? Nash said back to her. Well, because I'm the captain, Red declared. But I have ideas too, Nash pouted. And with that, he jumped up, accidentally knocking into Graham. Uh-oh, Graham cried as she lost her balance and pulled the shower head off the wall. Then water started spraying everywhere! I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, Nash cried out. Oh no, the ship is going to sink with all this rain, Captain Red shouted. Not if we work together to make it through, Admiral Graham assured her. Captain Red understood what she meant. She turned to Nash. Do you have any ideas, Buccaneer? Nash lit up. Yes, I can swim out and get the new mast. They looked out in the open water of the bathroom. The supply bag was smack dab in the middle of the floor. Okay, I'll hold on to one side of a rope and you take the other, Captain Red explained. Slowly, Nash made his way through the open water as Captain Red kept him anchored to the pirate bathtub boat with her imagination rope. Suddenly, the shower rain stopped. The three exchanged a surprised glance. Quick, Buccaneer! Swim back before the rains start again, Captain Red shouted. Fighting the current, Nash made his way back, with Red pulling him in. Nash handed the new showerhead mast to Admiral Graham, who quickly went to work installing. Red steadied the bathtub boat as Graham put the finishing touches on the showerhead mast. Nash looked through his looking glass. "Land ahead!" he exclaimed. "We should go there!" Red looked at him with a stern expression. "As your captain, I agree. Let's get on dry land." Graham let out a big sigh. "Dry land sounds great." Captain Red steered the ship to the island and Admiral Graham disembarked. Graham looked at both of them. "I'm glad you two worked together, not only to save the ship, but also because..." Graham looked at the soaked bathroom, water covering everything. "Because we're going to have to work together to clean up this bathroom," she said with a chuckle. "Grab a towel." Red and Nash hopped out of the tub and grabbed some towels from the supply bag. "What do we do now?" Red asked. Graham put her hands on her hips. "All right, mateys, time to swab the deck." Before Nash could ask, Graham added, "It means time to clean the floors, but you knew that." Nash nodded. "Yeah, I knew that. All Buccaneers know that, right?" he said with a smile. "Absolutely. Now let's get to work together," Red exclaimed. The three of them took their towels and started to wipe down all the surfaces. One big happy pirate family.